Elias Kane struggled to move through the ruined colony, each step sending a shiver of pain through his legs. Dust swirled around him, catching the dying sunlight and turning the world into a haze of red and gold. The mining accident had left him injured and alone. Supplies were low, and his communicator lay shattered under a fallen support beam. The colony that had once hummed with life was now nothing but silence and rubble. The wind moaned through the skeletal remains of buildings, a constant reminder that life had moved on without him. He sank against a cracked wall, breathing shallowly. Every movement felt like fire running through his muscles. He tried to think of how it had come to this. One moment he had been part of a thriving human outpost on the edge of the Orion sector. The next, the ground had given way beneath him, crushing his legs and leaving him isolated. He was trained, resourceful, and had survived worse, but nothing had prepared him for the slow, creeping certainty of dying alone. Elias's mind drifted to the past. He remembered his early days as a soldier, full of confidence and purpose. The battles he had fought, the systems he had defended, all seemed so distant now. He remembered the engineering challenges he had solved, the colony projects he had led. Those achievements felt meaningless against the harsh truth of the present. He was alone, injured, and dying. He closed his eyes, waiting for the darkness to take him. Time passed slowly. The wind shifted, carrying a strange vibration, almost like a soft hum. At first he thought it was his imagination, a trick of a mind weakened by pain and isolation. But then he felt it again, stronger this time. A presence, something alive, something watching him. His eyes snapped open, scanning the ruined colony. There was nothing, no movement, no shadow, only the dying light bouncing off broken metal and glass. And yet, the feeling persisted. He could sense it, like a heartbeat that wasn't his own. Panic rose, sharp and sudden. He wanted to scream, to call for help, but his voice had gone weak. Instead, he forced himself to stay still, to watch. From the corner of his vision, a glow appeared. At first, it was faint, like a star caught in the dust, but it grew, shaping itself into a humanoid figure. The figure moved closer, graceful and fluid, with a light that seemed to come from within. Elias could not tell if it was solid or made of energy, but he felt warmth emanating from it. His heart raced. He tried to speak, to ask who or what it was. But no words came. The presence knelt beside him, the glow brightening as it leaned closer. Then, almost instinctively, it reached out and touched him. The moment its hand made contact with his chest, the pain that had burned through his body for hours retreated. The wounds on his legs and arms knit themselves closed before his eyes, leaving only faint, glowing traces on his skin. He gasped, the sensation overwhelming him. It was not just healing. It was as if the energy of life itself had flowed into him, reviving him from the brink of death. "Survive," the voice came, a single word, soft yet clear, resonating directly in his mind. He did not hear it with his ears, but felt it in every fiber of his being. Sherdeen. It was both a command and a promise. The word carried power, a force that awakened something long buried inside him. Hope. Elias struggled to comprehend what had just happened. The being before him was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was humanoid, yes, but ethereal, luminous, almost divine in appearance. Its eyes, or the places where eyes would be, glowed with intelligence and something else he could not name, a mixture of curiosity and solemn judgment. He wanted to ask questions, to demand explanations, but he knew that no human words could capture the truth of this moment. Instead, he tried to stand. The healing warmth from the touch lingered in his body, strengthening his muscles, clearing the fog from his mind. For the first time since the accident, he could move without wincing. Every joint felt alive, every nerve sharp. It was a sensation he had almost forgotten, being whole. The alien, or whatever it was, remained kneeling, observing him. Elias noticed subtle movements, small gestures that suggested thought and awareness. It seemed to study him, weighing his reactions, testing his resolve. He realized then that this was no random encounter. This being had chosen him, or perhaps, in some way, it had been waiting for him. Questions flooded his mind, but one stood above all others. Why him? Why now? He had survived countless missions, endured unimaginable challenges, and yet it had been a mining accident, a simple failure of infrastructure, that brought him to the edge of death. And now, in this moment, an alien presence had intervened. The thought was both terrifying and exhilarating. He took a cautious step forward, then another. Each movement felt easier, more natural. He looked at the figure and saw that it was motionless, yet its very presence seemed to guide him. He realized he could not remain here, not with the knowledge that something beyond human understanding was watching him. There was a larger world, a universe filled with dangers and wonders, and he had been given a second chance to face it. The glow shifted, moving slightly, and he instinctively followed. The being led him through the ruins, navigating pathways he could barely see through the dust and debris. Elias realized that its guidance was not just physical. He could sense a direction, a purpose. He did not need to question where he was going. All that mattered was the path forward. As they moved, he noticed signs of life, or the remnants of it, scattered throughout the colony. Broken machines hummed faintly, damaged power cores flickered, and the walls bore scars from past conflicts. It was a place of death, yet the presence of this being made it feel alive again, as if the colony itself were breathing through them. Elias began to speak, his voice hoarse but gaining strength. "Who are you?" he asked. The word hung in the air, and for a moment, there was only silence. Then, once more, he felt the word inside him. Survive. Not just a command, but a message. It was a key, a reminder that his life was not his alone. Something greater than himself had intervened, and now it was up to him to honor that gift. He stumbled over rubble but kept moving. Each step reminded him of the fragility of human life, but also of its resilience. Humans were not meant to lie down and die, even in the face of overwhelming odds. That thought, so simple yet profound, gave him strength. He realized that the alien had not merely healed him. It had given him a reason to fight, a reason to endure. Hours passed, though time felt different in the glow of the being. Elias did not know how long he had been walking, only that the presence never left him, always near, guiding him through the labyrinth of broken structures. He began to notice details he had missed before. The way the dust shimmered in the light, the faint hum of broken machinery, the distant echoes of what had once been a bustling colony. And then, in the distance, he saw movement, shapes approaching through the haze. Not the alien, not yet. Something else, something dangerous. Panic flared in him, but the alien's presence steadied him. He realized that survival was not just about avoiding death. It was about confronting it with courage and intelligence. The figures drew closer, and Elias could make out their forms. Scavengers, perhaps, or rogue machines, remnants of an automated defense system left to malfunction. They were fast, relentless, and clearly not human. The alien being did not move to attack. It simply glowed brighter, a silent promise of protection. Elias understood that he had to act, to use his wits, his training, his human ingenuity. He remembered the old trick of creating a diversion, something he had used in military simulations countless times. He grabbed a piece of debris and hurled it toward a nearby wall. It clanged loudly, echoing through the colony. The figures paused, analyzing the sound, and Elias seized the moment to dart past them, guided by the alien's light. Each heartbeat was a reminder of how close he had come to death, and how fragile life could be. Finally, they reached a higher platform, a place that offered a clearer view of the ruined colony. Elias collapsed against the edge, breathing heavily but alive. He looked at the alien, its glow now soft, almost gentle. He knew he owed his life to it, and yet he felt something more profound. A connection, a spark of understanding that transcended language and species. He realized then that he was not truly alone. The universe was vast, filled with dangers and mysteries, but also with beings capable of recognizing the strength of humanity. He had been given a second chance, and he would not waste it. As the sun finally disappeared behind the jagged horizon, Elias Kane lifted his head, feeling the alien presence beside him. A single word echoed in his mind once more. Survive. And for the first time in what felt like an eternity, he believed he could. Elias Kane sat on the edge of the broken platform, his body still trembling from the near-death experience. The alien being hovered silently beside him, a soft glow emanating from its form, illuminating the jagged ruins of the colony. It had healed him, protected him, and now it seemed content to wait, observing him with a quiet patience that made Elias both uneasy and curious. He had survived, yes, but survival alone no longer seemed enough. The universe felt larger, stranger, and far more dangerous than he had ever imagined. "Who are you?" Elias asked again, his voice hoarse but gaining strength with each word. He did not expect an answer in words. After all, the being had already communicated in a way beyond language, but he needed to speak. Speaking grounded him, reminded him he was human, alive, and not just a passenger in some incomprehensible cosmic plan. The alien did not respond verbally. Instead, a new sensation washed over him, not through his ears but through his mind. Visions. Flashes of light and shapes, moving in a rhythm that seemed deliberate. Elias blinked, trying to make sense of them. He saw vast cities built of crystal and metal, creatures of strange beauty walking in perfect harmony. Ships glided silently through space, leaving trails of light that curved like ribbons. In another vision, he saw planets, some vibrant with life, others barren and gray, all connected by intricate networks of energy. It was overwhelming, almost too much for his mind to hold. Yet beneath the awe, a sense of warning threaded through the visions. Elias understood, without fully comprehending, that this being belonged to a civilization far older, far more advanced than humanity. They had knowledge, power, and a moral code that humans could barely grasp, and now, for reasons unknown, they had chosen to intervene in his life. "Why me?" Elias whispered, more to himself than to the alien. The question felt foolish. He was just one man, a survivor among billions of humans, scattered across the stars. Why would a being of such intelligence focus on him? And yet, the answer came not in words, but in feeling. Potential. Humans were fragile, yes, but also unpredictable, resilient. Clever. He had survived because of both training and instinct. But the alien's choice suggested something deeper. Humans, when pressed to the edge, could accomplish things that even advanced civilizations might underestimate. The being extended its hand again, not touching him this time, but hovering near his face. A pulse of energy passed between them, and Elias felt a clarity he had not known since before the accident. Thoughts that had been muddled, chaotic, and clouded by pain now aligned. He saw patterns in the ruined colony, potential escape routes, and strategies for avoiding danger. He realized that this alien was teaching him, not just healing him, preparing him for challenges he could not yet see. He stood unsteadily, testing his strength. Every joint responded perfectly. His wounds were gone, leaving only faint traces that glowed softly beneath his skin. The sensation was intoxicating, but Elias did not allow himself to be distracted. The alien had saved him, yes, but the universe beyond this ruin was still dangerous. Scavengers, rogue machines, rival colonies, and perhaps worse, unknown alien forces still threatened humanity. He took a cautious step toward the edge of the platform, scanning the horizon. Dust storms rolled across the barren landscape, and he could see shapes moving in the distance. Not large, not threatening on their own, but fast, intelligent. He realized they were scouts, automated drones left behind by the colony's defense systems. They had been inactive until now, triggered by some signal he did not yet understand. The alien glowed brighter as he studied them, almost as if it were encouraging him to act. Elias nodded to himself, forcing his fear into focus. He would not be a passive observer. Survival was not enough. Humanity had a stubbornness, a spark of ingenuity that no machine or alien could fully predict. He had seen it in small ways before, colonists rigging broken equipment to serve new purposes, humans finding ways to survive where logic dictated they should fail. That spark burned in him now, stronger than ever. He moved toward the scouts, using debris and shadows to conceal himself. When one of them detected him, he reacted instinctively, flipping a loose panel toward the machine. It clattered loudly, drawing the drone's attention. Elias darted past, weaving through rubble, the alien presence guiding him silently. The machines could not anticipate human unpredictability, not fully. That was humanity's strength. That was what the alien seemed to recognize. By nightfall, Elias and the alien had reached the edge of the colony. From this vantage point, the surrounding territory stretched endlessly. Barren plains dotted with ruins, distant mountains rising like jagged teeth, and beyond them, the faint glimmer of alien ships in orbit. The alien hovered beside him, almost reverent, observing humanity's world with a mixture of curiosity and caution. Elias felt a strange pride. This being so advanced and powerful was witnessing something it could not control, human resilience. "What are they?" Elias asked, pointing toward the distant ships. He did not expect a direct answer. The alien had already communicated more than words could capture. Instead, he felt an understanding. These were scouts, part of a larger fleet moving toward human colonies. The vision of destruction flashed briefly in his mind, and he knew the stakes. Humanity was not just vulnerable. It was on the brink of being underestimated to the point of annihilation. He clenched his fists, determination replacing fear. The alien's presence was a gift, but the work would still be his. Humans could survive, but only if they were clever, daring, and willing to fight against odds that seemed insurmountable. Elias understood then that his life had been saved not just for himself, but for something larger, a chance to prepare humanity for a challenge it could not yet see. "Teach me," he said simply. The word felt small against the enormity of the universe, but it carried resolve. The alien did not move, but again the pulse of energy passed between them. Elias felt knowledge seeding itself in his mind. Engineering principles beyond his training, strategies for survival, tactics for outsmarting advanced opponents. He absorbed what he could, knowing it would be tested soon. As the first stars appeared in the darkening sky, Elias practiced. He disassembled broken drones, studied patterns in their programming, and learned how to use their own mechanisms against them. Each success filled him with confidence. He realized that humans were not meant to wait for salvation. They were meant to act, to improvise, to survive through cleverness and determination. The alien's guidance amplified what was already within him. Time lost meaning. Days passed in a blur of preparation, practice, and learning. Elias discovered that the alien had limits. It could heal, guide, and share knowledge, but it could not fight for him directly. Its laws forbade direct interference in conflicts. That constraint forced Elias to rely on human qualities, ingenuity, adaptability, and sheer stubbornness. He had survived once by chance. Now he would survive by skill and will. During this time, he also learned to communicate with the alien in small ways, gestures, thoughts, subtle signals. They developed a rhythm, a partnership built on trust and mutual understanding. He realized that this being did not see humanity as inferior, as many civilizations might. It recognized the value in their unpredictability, their courage, and their determination to endure. Every small victory in the ruined colony became a lesson, a demonstration that humans were capable of more than even advanced observers might expect. On the 5th night, a warning came. Through the alien psychic link, Elias saw flashes of the fleet approaching in orbit. Their movements were precise, calculated, almost casual. Yet within the vision, he saw a flaw, a weakness in their tactics, a pattern that could be exploited. Human ingenuity could turn that flaw into advantage. His heart pounded with excitement. This was the moment for which he had been prepared, the reason the alien had chosen him. He stood on the edge of the platform, looking at the horizon, where danger waited. The alien hovered beside him, calm, almost serene, its glow reflecting in his eyes. Elias felt no fear now, only determination. Humanity had been underestimated before, and it would be underestimated again, but this time, they would not fail. He would not fail. The knowledge he had gained, combined with human creativity, would be the difference between survival and extinction. For the first time since the accident, Elias felt the sense of purpose, beyond mere survival. He was not just a wounded survivor. He was a link between humanity and the larger universe, a catalyst for proving that humans could rise against any challenge. The alien had given him life, but it had also given him a vision, a chance to show the galaxy that humanity's greatest weapon was not technology or strength, but the will to survive, adapt, and triumph against impossible odds. As dawn broke, casting pale light over the barren colony, Elias took a deep breath. He no longer feared the unknown. The alien's touch, the word it had spoken, and the lessons it had shared had transformed him. He was ready to return to the human colonies, ready to warn them, ready to prepare them. The universe was vast, dangerous, and full of beings who might think themselves superior, but humans had something no one could predict: heart, courage, and the spark of ingenuity that refused to be extinguished. Elias turned to the alien, a silent acknowledgement passing between them. Survival was no longer enough. Humanity would fight, and he would lead the first step. The glow of the alien faded slightly, as if in approval, leaving Elias standing on the platform, strong, healed, and ready. He stepped forward into the unknown, carrying knowledge, hope, and the undeniable truth that humans, even fragile and underestimated, could rise to meet the stars. Elias Kane moved through the barren wasteland beyond the ruined colony, the alien woman hovering silently at his side. Her glow illuminated the jagged landscape, casting long shadows over broken machinery and jagged rocks. The wind carried the scent of dust and decay, but Elias no longer feared it. He had been healed, guided, and given knowledge beyond his understanding. Now it was time to act, to use what he had learned to prepare humanity for a challenge that few could even imagine. The alien's presence was constant, a silent reminder of the stakes. Elias did not need words. He could feel her thoughts, her warnings, her understanding. She had chosen to help him, but she had also made clear that she could not fight directly. Humanity's survival depended on ingenuity, unpredictability, and courage. That realization sharpened his focus. Humans were underestimated across the galaxy, and it was that very underestimation that gave them their greatest advantage. He stopped at the edge of a rocky ridge, surveying the landscape. Below, the ruins of smaller outposts lay scattered, abandoned, and broken. These outposts had once been hubs of human activity, but now they were silent, their defenses dormant or destroyed. Elias knew that the alien fleet was approaching, slowly but inevitably, and that humanity needed time to prepare. Every moment counted. "Stay close," he whispered, more to himself than to the alien. She responded with a pulse of energy, a subtle acknowledgement that communicated understanding. Elias began to plan. He would move from outpost to outpost, repairing defenses where possible, setting traps, and teaching small bands of survivors how to use their environment to their advantage. Humans had a tendency to improvise, to turn ordinary objects into weapons, and he would harness that trait fully. The first outpost he reached was almost completely destroyed. Its walls were crumbled and most of the machinery lay in twisted heaps. Elias moved carefully, examining the remains. He found a few survivors, huddled in fear, unsure of what had happened to their world. His sudden appearance startled them, but the alien's presence reassured them. She radiated calm and authority, a silent testament that Elias could be trusted. "We must prepare," Elias said firmly. "We cannot wait to be destroyed." "We will fight. We will survive." His voice carried conviction, and the survivors began to listen. Fear was strong, but so was the human instinct to endure. Elias directed them to salvage materials, repair structures, and create simple defenses. He showed them how to use debris and broken machinery to form traps, how to camouflage themselves, and how to exploit the terrain. As night fell, Elias led the survivors to higher ground, where they could observe approaching dangers. He taught them to read the signs of movement in the distance, to anticipate attacks, and to remain unpredictable. The alien watched silently, her glow dimmed to a soft shimmer. Elias could feel her approval, not through words, but through energy that resonated in his chest. Humans were learning quickly. Their creativity, their stubbornness, their willingness to act despite fear. It was impressive, even by her standards. Over the next few days, Elias moved from outpost to outpost, gathering survivors, teaching them, and setting traps. The alien accompanied him, sharing knowledge in ways that bypassed language, showing structural weaknesses in enemy designs, subtle techniques for camouflage, and methods to maximize human ingenuity. They were organized, precise, and confident, but rigid. They expected predictable reactions, and humans were anything but predictable. That rigidity would be their undoing. During a scouting mission, Elias and a small group of survivors encountered a patrol of alien drones. Elias froze briefly, feeling the alien's presence tense beside him. Then he remembered her lessons. Unpredictability, creativity, courage. He signaled the survivors, and they executed a plan he had improvised on the spot. Debris was thrown, sensors were triggered, and the drones became confused, unable to anticipate the human movements. One by one, they were disabled or destroyed using makeshift tools and the terrain itself. Elias felt a surge of pride. Humans had fought and won, not with superior technology, but with cleverness and determination. The alien observed, her thoughts revealing a mix of surprise and admiration. Elias realized she had not expected humans to adapt so quickly, to innovate under pressure, to turn weakness into strength. That was the essence of HFY, the human ability to face overwhelming odds and find solutions where none seemed possible. Every small victory reinforced the truth. Humans were dangerous not because of strength, but because of their unpredictability and indomitable spirit. One evening, as they rested atop a ridge, Elias asked the alien a question he had avoided until now. Why me? Why help me? He had wondered since the moment she had touched him, healed him, and given him purpose. The alien did not answer with words. Instead, a vision filled his mind, a vast battlefield in space, humans and aliens clashing, outcomes hanging on the edge of uncertainty. She was a witness, an observer, and in some ways, a guide. She could not fight directly, but she could influence events subtly, choosing where to intervene and where to allow humans to prove themselves. In that vision, Elias saw his own actions, small but critical, shaping the course of events in ways he had not imagined. The message was clear. Humans had potential, and he had been chosen to awaken it. The following day, Elias led the survivors to a high plateau overlooking a narrow canyon. He realized it would be the perfect place to confront the alien scouts. The terrain would force the enemy into a predictable path, but he and his people could use traps and improvisation to gain the upper hand. Every detail was considered. Loose rocks that could be dislodged, narrow ledges for ambush, and hidden depressions for concealment. The survivors worked tirelessly, motivated not just by orders but by the belief that they could survive, that they could fight back. When the scouts finally arrived, Elias was ready. The first drone moved confidently, expecting an easy path through the canyon. Elias signaled, and the traps were triggered. Rocks tumbled, dust obscured sensors, and the humans struck from hidden positions. The alien's pulse of energy coursed through him, amplifying his focus, sharpening his perception. Each move was precise, each countermeasure effective. The drones faltered, unable to adapt to the unpredictability of human strategy. One by one they were disabled or destroyed, and the survivors cheered quietly, their confidence growing with each success. The alien watched, her glow brightening slightly. Elias could feel her thoughts admiring the human spirit, resourceful, courageous, capable of triumph against superior forces. He realized then that survival was only the beginning. Humans could not only endure, they could innovate, strategize, and fight in ways that even advanced civilizations might underestimate. That unpredictability was their greatest weapon. Over the next few days, Elias expanded his network of survivors, training them to think creatively, to use terrain and tools to their advantage, and to work together with precision and adaptability. Each encounter with alien scouts reinforced the lesson. Humans were dangerous when underestimated. They improvised, adapted, and struck in ways that no rigid, highly advanced system could fully predict. The aliens' guidance amplified this process, but it was human ingenuity that drove success. One night, as Elias surveyed the territory, he felt a new presence in the distance. A massive ship, clearly part of the approaching fleet. Its size and power were intimidating. But Elias did not feel fear. He had learned to trust his instincts, to rely on human creativity, and to use unpredictability as an advantage. The alien's glow pulsed beside him, a silent acknowledgement that the real challenge was coming. The fleet would be powerful, organized, and confident, but it would not anticipate the strength of human will. Elias realized that the coming battle would test everything he had learned and taught. Humans were capable of extraordinary things, but only if they acted decisively, cleverly, and without hesitation. The alien's presence was a reminder of what was at stake, but it was the humans themselves who would determine the outcome. Their courage, their resourcefulness, and their relentless drive to survive would be the deciding factors. He turned to the survivors gathered around him, their eyes filled with anticipation and determination. We fight not because we are strong, but because we are clever. We fight not because we are armed, but because we refuse to be defeated. We survive because that is who we are. Humans. The words carried across the plateau, resonating with every heart present. They understood, not just intellectually, but instinctively, that they were part of something larger than themselves. The alien's glow pulsed softly, as if in approval, and Elias felt a renewed sense of purpose. The scouts had been defeated, the survivors trained, and a network of prepared humans was ready. The next stage would be the confrontation with the main fleet, a test of strategy, creativity, and courage. Humans had been underestimated for centuries, but now they would show the galaxy the power of ingenuity, resilience, and the will to survive. As dawn broke, casting pale light over the canyon, Elias Kane stood at the edge of the plateau, the alien woman hovering beside him. Below, the human survivors prepared for the coming challenge, fortified by training, strategy, and the understanding that they could not fail. The alien fleet loomed in the distance, but Elias did not feel fear. He felt certainty. Humans were underestimated, yes, but that was exactly the advantage they needed. The battle ahead would be difficult, but humanity had something no alien could fully anticipate: heart, courage, and the spark of ingenuity that refused to be extinguished. and Elias Kane would lead them. Elias Kane stood on the edge of the plateau, the alien woman hovering silently beside him. Below, the human survivors moved like shadows, positioning traps, barricades, and improvised defenses across the canyon and surrounding plains. Dust swirled in the early morning light, glinting off jagged rocks and the remnants of ruined buildings. The alien fleet in the distance appeared calm, confident, and unyielding. They had underestimated humans before, and now that mistake would cost them. Elias took a deep breath. His body felt strong, his mind sharp, and his resolve unbreakable. The alien had guided him, shared knowledge beyond human understanding, and shown him weaknesses in the approaching enemy. But it was human ingenuity, courage, and unpredictability that would decide the battle. The alien could not fight directly, bound by its laws, but it had given humanity the tools, and now Elias would lead them to victory. "Remember," Elias said, his voice carrying across the plateau, "we are not strong, but we are clever. We are not many, but we are unpredictable. Every move they expect will be wrong. Every weakness we exploit will matter. Survive. Fight. Adapt. Win." His words sparked determination in every human present. Fear had been replaced by confidence, and hope burned like a fire in their hearts. The first wave of the alien fleet descended into the canyon. Their ships glimmered with polished metal and advanced technology, sending sensors scanning the landscape. The humans remained hidden, hearts pounding, waiting for the right moment. Elias signaled, and the first traps were triggered. Rocks tumbled from ledges, dust obscured sensors, and simple mechanisms disrupted the ship's landing protocols. The aliens had not anticipated human unpredictability, and for the first time, they faltered. Elias and the survivors moved quickly. Using debris, improvised weapons, and the terrain itself, they struck from unexpected angles. One group lured scouts into narrow passages where makeshift explosives disabled them. Another used reflective surfaces to blind sensors temporarily, creating confusion among the enemy. Every tactic was simple yet effective because it exploited assumptions the alien fleet had made about human weakness. The alien woman hovered beside Elias, glowing softly. He felt her admiration, subtle but undeniable. Humans were proving themselves, not as primitive creatures, but as beings capable of incredible ingenuity. Each small victory reinforced the truth. Humans could survive, and even triumph, against forces far superior. Elias felt pride swelling in him, but he did not let it distract him. The battle had only begun, and mistakes now could be fatal. The alien fleet regrouped. Their confidence shaken, they began coordinating more aggressively, attempting to predict human movements. Elias anticipated this. Using the knowledge the alien had shared and his own experience, he devised countermeasures. Decoys were set up, false trails created, and survivors repositioned constantly to remain unpredictable. Each move tested the enemy's assumptions, forcing them into errors that humans could exploit. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher, casting sharp shadows across the canyon floor. The human survivors fought with relentless determination, striking, retreating, and adapting continuously. Elias directed them, coordinating attacks, signaling movements, and improvising strategies as new threats emerged. The alien presence amplified his perception, allowing him to see patterns and anticipate enemy reactions before they occurred. At one point, a massive scout ship descended too quickly into a narrow pass. Elias signaled, and a series of weighted debris was released, sending the ship crashing into rocks. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the remaining ships hesitated. The human survivors erupted in quiet cheers. The tide of the battle was shifting. They were not just surviving. They were winning, one clever move at a time. Despite the chaos, Elias remained focused. He knew the alien fleet would not give up easily. But Their main forces were still in orbit, waiting to deploy advanced weapons. Humanity's victories were small, but significant. Each successful tactic reinforced a lesson. The universe underestimated humans because humans were unpredictable. They did not follow logic rigidly. They improvised, adapted, and struck where it hurt most. Elias's mind raced. He had one final strategy in mind, a high-risk plan that could turn the battle decisively. Using the terrain, the survivors would create a false retreat, drawing the alien fleet into a confined canyon where their advanced technology would be less effective. Mines, debris, and improvised traps would maximize damage, and the remaining humans would strike from hidden positions. It was dangerous, but it relied on the human qualities the aliens could never anticipate: creativity, courage, and sheer stubbornness. As the alien fleet moved into position, Elias gave the signal. The humans executed the plan flawlessly. The false retreat lured the ships into the canyon. Explosions erupted, debris tumbled, and sensors failed. The narrow terrain amplified the humans' advantage, allowing them to disable multiple ships with minimal risk. The alien fleet struggled to adapt, their confidence shaken by the unexpected effectiveness of human tactics. From above, the alien woman watched. Her glow pulsed, a silent acknowledgement of what humans had achieved. Elias felt her thoughts, filled with both surprise and admiration. Humans were dangerous, not because of strength, but because of their unpredictability and ingenuity. They had taken a seemingly hopeless situation and turned it into a triumph, proving that survival was only the beginning of what they could accomplish. The final assault came from the remaining fleet, larger and more coordinated than before. Elias knew this would be the ultimate test. Using everything he had learned and taught, he directed the humans in a series of precise, unexpected maneuvers. Some acted as decoys, drawing fire and attention. Others struck from hidden positions, targeting weak points in the alien ships. Every move exploited assumptions. Every strike reinforced unpredictability. The battle reached its peak intensity. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and the canyon shook with explosions. The humans, though few, fought with unwavering determination. Each action was guided by intuition, experience, and creativity, traits the alien fleet could not fully predict. Elias moved among them, coordinating, improvising, and inspiring. The alien woman's glow surrounded him briefly, a reminder that he was not alone in guiding humanity's potential. In a final, desperate move, Elias used the terrain to collapse part of the canyon onto the main alien force. Debris crushed ships, blocked paths, and created chaos. The alien fleet struggled to recover, their advanced technology less effective in the confined space. Humans exploited every opening, disabling ships, redirecting attacks, and surviving against overwhelming odds. The impossible had been made possible. As the dust settled, Elias stood on the plateau, breathing heavily, surveying the aftermath. The alien fleet had been defeated, scattered, and forced to retreat. Human survivors moved cautiously among the ruins, their faces a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. They had done what no one expected. They had survived, adapted, and triumphed. The alien woman hovered beside Elias, her glow now soft and serene. Elias felt a profound connection, not just with her, but with all of humanity. The battle had been won not by strength or numbers, but by ingenuity, courage, and the unyielding human spirit. The aliens' presence had guided them, yes, but it had been human creativity, stubbornness, and determination that had achieved victory. Elias realized then the true meaning of the word she had spoken when she first touched him: survive. It was more than healing or saving a life. It was a challenge, a lesson, and a prophecy. Humans had survived, yes, but in doing so, they had proven their worth, not just to the alien, but to themselves and to the universe. He turned to the survivors, his voice strong despite exhaustion. "We did it," he said. "We survived. But more than that, we fought. We adapted, and we proved that humans are not to be underestimated. This is only the beginning. Humanity will endure, and the universe will remember." The alien woman pulsed brightly, then slowly faded, leaving Elias and the humans standing amidst the ruins, victorious but aware of the challenges yet to come. She had given them guidance, shown them potential, and witnessed the spark of human ingenuity. But the future belonged to humanity, and it was theirs to shape. Elias Kane looked up at the sky, where the remnants of the alien fleet receded. The stars stretched endlessly, a vast expanse of possibilities. Humans had survived against the odds, and in doing so, they had proven something profound, that courage, creativity, and the will to endure could turn even the most desperate situation into triumph. He felt the weight of responsibility, but also a sense of hope. Humanity had faced a test, and they had passed. They had survived when the universe expected them to fail, and in doing so, they had claimed their place among the stars. The alien's one word echoed in his mind once more: survive. But now he understood its deeper meaning. Survival was only the beginning. Humanity had the potential to rise, to thrive, and to inspire awe across the galaxy. As the humans began to rebuild, Elias stood among them, healed, strong, and filled with determination. The battle had ended, but the story of humanity was far from over. They had been underestimated, yes, but that had become their greatest advantage. They were unpredictable, clever, and unstoppable when united by purpose and courage. The alien woman's final message lingered in his thoughts, a gentle reminder of the vast universe and the challenges yet to come. Elias smiled faintly. Humans would survive. Humans would adapt. And humans, against all odds, would rise to meet the stars. For Elias Kane and his people, the future was not written. It was theirs to shape, and with ingenuity, courage, and the human spirit as their guide, they would ensure that humanity's story was one of triumph, not just survival, but glory.